So in this tutorial, we want to show how easy it is to use AI from Summit in a no-code way to do things like create content. So we're going to use the quick start here at the top left called augmented content generation. And we're going to walk through step by step of how this works. And we're going to make some changes along the way to make it uh, more flexible. So the way this works, just as a brief overview, is you can obviously see the GPT step here staring at us with the OpenAI logo. If I click it, you can see that it specifies the model to use as well as an API key. Now, this key is also a variable, which you can notice by the curly braces. And this OpenAI key naming is because if I go into my vault, which is down here at the bottom left, click my avatar and then click vault, you can see how I have an OpenAI key variable stored in the vault. Now, these are encrypted, so these are safe. But what we can do is we can store then our tokens and keys here so that we can use them with API calls like OpenAI. So as long as the name here that you choose, so when you add a new item, you get to choose the name. So I could say my llama key. As long as this name matches what you use inside the model, you should be good to go. And so that's what this is. So let's go back to that example. So that's how this works. And now, in order to call GPT, of course, we need to feed it what's called a prompt. Now, prompts in Summit are defined as objects. So this object here, this is the prompt that we're going to give it. We've specified a cache durations, which is just how many seconds. How many seconds should we give the same answer back? So in this case, it's 600 seconds, which is 10 minutes. So this answer could change up to every 10 minutes. You can set this for however long you want to. Just depending on how quick you want it to respond and how recent you want the information to be. And in this case, the prompt says, why do people love Austin, Texas? Be concise. We're going to create a tweet out of this. And then please consider colon, and we're passing in more variables, which is information that we're using to do what's called enriching the prompt. And the way we enrich a prompt is by providing extra information that we wouldn't normally have access to. And the way we do that in Summit is with what's called a search. So a simple concept, obviously searching the web. But in this case, you can just type in whatever query you want to. And so we said, what are the best restaurants in Austin, Texas right now? And obviously the right now is the important part because GPT over API calls has what's called cutoff dates. So in this case, I believe the cutoff date for GPT 4.0 is April or May of 2023, which is the month we're in now. But if there's news and reviews and new things happening and you want the latest and greatest, you do need to search the web for that information. So like in this case, we're typing in a query, we're getting that information, we're passing it to the prompt and enriching it, and then we're getting our answer. So we'll go ahead and run this and see what happens. Now this takes a couple seconds, obviously, because we're calling the LLM, we're getting the full response back, and we can look under data, and it produced a tweet length summary which included the information from the search. So let's modify this now to do something other than restaurants in Austin, Texas. Okay, so if you watch the other Hello World video, you may have seen how to turn parts of text in Summit into variables. We're going to cover that again here, do a little bit more advanced things, as you'll see in a second. So we want to, first of all, let's change this from being Austin to being generic. So we want this to work for any location. So we'll turn Austin, Texas in there into a location variable. And I'm also going to turn off auto run here at the bottom right so that this doesn't run every single time we make changes. Obviously, calling GPT over and over again as we make changes isn't what we want. So change Austin here to a variable. We'll change it here as well to that same variable location. And instead of ATX restaurants, it's just going to be restaurants now. Now, this was the name of the restaurant search event. So I need to make sure that I change the restaurant search event to stay in sync. So I'm going to double click this, backspace, hit enter. So these are in sync. And now I've turned location into a variable. So that's good, but we now need to pass that variable into the model. And so what we're going to do here is something we did in the Hello World video as well. We created a string. So double click location, enter, and then the key, E key on the keyboard to jump into the edit box. And we'll do an equal sign, which is what all these functions start with. String just means a string of text. And then what we're going to type in here is what do we want the default to be? So if we don't pass in anything, this is what's going to be used. And just for fun, we'll change it to uh, Peachtree City here, Atlanta, Georgia. And we'll call this argument geography. So this is going to be the geography of the model. So whatever we're passing in could be a prospect, a customer, it could be a city we're targeting with marketing efforts. It doesn't really matter, of course, but we'll call this geography. And now we want to make sure that this step, which is called an event, this location step runs before the search does so that this location gets filled out. And the way we can do that is we'll click and drag this arrow and point it here. And anytime something precedes something else with that arrow, it means that this thing is going to run first. So location will run first, then the search, then the prompt, then GPT, parser, and response. So pretty self-explanatory, but you got to make sure you connect these arrows just to make sure that this location has that text in it before we try to use that variable, called dereferencing that variable inside the search. So now we've changed it, Atlanta, Georgia. Let's run this again and see if it changes to a tweet about Atlanta, food and awesomeness instead. Shout out to my Atlanta friends. And it did. So we've suddenly, just like that, customized this model. And what we've done is we haven't just made it about Atlanta, of course. Now it's a variable. So to prove that, we can click Set Live. Yes, Set Live. Published. And if we come under API, you can see how geography is now a parameter of the model, which means I can pass this in from anywhere. So Zapier, HubSpot, Clay, Make, etc. Your favorite CRM, as long as you can make an API call, you can now pass in any city you want to, and it will automatically, dynamically compose that prompt and therefore that GPT response. So that's how we use AI, call GPT from a Summit model, and also how we can make a prompt both enriched and flexible so that we can dynamically adjust parts of it on the fly with our API calls that we do from our other no-code tools. That's it for this tutorial. Definitely going to make a lot more. Hope this was helpful. Please send us your questions, and we can't wait to see what you build. Thanks.